So from deep within the forest, we go to high atop Death Mountain for the Goron mines. So, this is something we've seen as like the forest. We've seen similar stuff in Zelda. It's an active volcano. It actually looks incomprehensible when you look at it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It looks like a giant pretzel bun. Like, I don't get what what the heck they were trying to do.
I love it though. It's just so out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're gonna counter here a lot of fire and lava elements, both in obstacles and enemies. You've got, the Dodongos, the fire slug, the Keese, the toad pulley, I think they're called.
Yeah.
And as the name suggests, they're mines, and they were once operated by the Gorons. And so on top of the fire elements, the mine aspect gives the dungeon a bit more of an industrial feel, which we've seen a little bit in other games in different ways. Like, I feel like
Great Bay's got that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course mine carts have been in the Oracles and Minish Cap. So again, like a cool, like, doing a bigger, more bombastic take on those sort of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Gorons, they still oversee the mines. They're sacred to them. So there's even more of a connection here. Like, I guess the monkeys kind of had made the forest their new home, but the Gorons have kind of always been sort of the stewards of these. So you have more of a connection here, and you have to sumo wrestle a Goron to enter.
Yeah.
Once again, with an item you got before entering, the iron boots. So, like, again, there's a lot. Like, this game has a lot before dungeons, and there's some stuff I don't like as much, but I do love these things that kind of, like, prime you for, like, more stuff in the dungeons. I think it reminds me sort of like the transformation masks in Majora's Mask, where it's like you actually get some time to kind of become familiar with them, and they're the star of the show. And then, like, the arrows and that aren't as much, but in this it's like that, but then they also throw in something new, so that they do something bombastic with, and we'll definitely talk about that with a lot of these dungeons. But the boots are crucial to the navigation of the dungeon. Oh, yeah. You've got, like, there's, like, those special, like, they're like magnetic surfaces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the big magnets that, like, pull you in certain directions if you drop into the beam.
Oh yeah, you see like a beam that'll suck you up into. So you're walking on walls and getting moved around by, like, these cranes or whatever. They're like machinery. And that's pretty fun. And there is an overarching story in this, like we mentioned. Like with the monkeys, you've got the Gorons. And in this, it's kind of like Ocarina of Time, sort of, where you've got to, like, seek out Gorons within the volcano. But in this case, they're like the Goron elders, and they each individually have, like, pieces that form the boss key, which is
key shards.
The key shards. I think that's kind of neat. I like a unique sort of boss key. We've ranked the boss keys before together, and I don't remember what we said about this one, but
I feel like
cool.
Like, it's cool that it's in shards, but I think we didn't like the design. It's just kind of lame.
Yeah, lame design, but
design.
I don't know why. Like, now thinking about it now, I'm like, I like that key. Yeah, there's also a Goron that's sort of like, he's guarding the dungeon item as well, and there's like this recurring theme, like when you're climbing the mountain as well. Like the Gorons, because of what's been going on, they're, like, distrustful. Even more so than, like, in Ocarina of Time.
And they're doing their due diligence because it's, like, the patriarch that you're trying to find. So they have to make sure that, like, they're kind of keeping him locked away and, like, in check, and they don't want just anyone being able to go mess around in the mines and mess around with the Patriarch. So it's like you got to go one by one, basically talking to each of them and gaining their trust in a way.
Yeah, it's pretty. I think it's pretty neat the way they do that, and the fight with this guy is cool. Like you're on this big magnetic surface over a lava pit, and you have to use the iron boots to stay on. So it's like it's not really. It reminds me of Super Mario 64 when Bowser makes jumps and makes the stage tilt. It's pretty much exactly like that. You have a bit more recourse here because you can stick to it, which is nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fun fight. I think you get the hero's bow. It's a little less unique. You know, it's like a bow, and
it's a good bow though. I think it's one of my favorite bows.
It's very strong and very satisfying. Obviously, bomb arrows that's a later thing, but that's pretty satisfying. It just feels like it's a lot has been made of like, okay, I had the slingshot, and now I got the bow, and the bow is a massive upgrade. But it's like, it's more of the slingshot's problem, if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely.
We didn't even really talk about the slingshot before. It's just, yeah.
Needs it.
But yeah, this is where I feel like navigation in this dungeon is it's like straightforward. There's some, you could say non-linearity or maybe backtracking, but it mostly funnels you in the direction of where you want to go. And it has an example of something I harped on a little bit in Wind Waker, which is when you use a key in the same room you got it. I don't know why. That really annoys me. Like,
it depends how it's presented for me. Sometimes I like that. Sometimes I don't.
That's always why you're just gonna be like, I'm just a simple, like, classic Zelda fan, and you see on my list, like, I just love the dungeons where you get a key and you use it somewhere else. Like, that's just my jam. I just love that.
They definitely steer away from that in later Zelda games. Because that's just like, that was a key, like, navigational puzzle back in the early days. It was just like, oh, there's a locked door, you gotta go find a key somewhere else.
Yeah. It reminds me of, we talked about this a little bit of the Ocarina of Time, where, like, there are things in that game that feel like they're only there because they are in A Link to the Past or Link's Awakening. And now it's like, well, we have to make this in 3D. But, like, it's not
translate.
Not the best execution, and this just feels like you gotta have keys, I'm thinking, like, just get rid of the key if it's not that useful, but whatever, This really stood out to me too here. I don't know why this dungeon, it really sticks out to me. We've talked about this before, but I start to feel like at this point, and this is throughout the game, like, a lot of the enemies, the bokoblins especially, they start to feel like pushovers. Like, it's not exciting or interesting to encounter them.
Sure. There is a spot in this dungeon where, like, you're going down and you have to, I think you, like, drop, like, a door and, like, a bunch of them come rushing at you at once. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. And, like, the scene where there's like a bunch of archers and they're shooting you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's kind of why it stood out to me, because I'm like, well, there's a couple cool moments, but
that's excellent too, because that's, like, the perfect use of the bow. Because that's, like, there are a lot of, like, almost like sniper situations in this game.
Absolutely.
Where there's, like, enemies that are far away, and, like, if you use the bow right, you can, like, take them out, or you can just kind of, like, try and progress, and, like, you can make it easier on yourself by, like, blowing up some explosive barrels, or you can kind of just, like, bum rush the ones that are on the ground and hide behind little barriers. But that's a very effective use of the bow in this, I think.
That's a fun sequence. Yeah. I'll definitely give it that. So I kind of wish, like, I know, like, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, like, and combat's pretty simple, and it's not like the greatest 3D combat in any game, but I kind of wish there was just a little bit more going on here with, like, the sword play. Like, obviously you get the hidden skills throughout the game, but I don't know, I kind of wish they, like, had like, I don't know, I get it's kind of like more for all ages, but kind of wish they put a little bit of a check here. Like maybe you like really had to use some of those abilities, or like I don't know. It just really sticks out to me in some of the rooms.
There's definitely later on in the game they do introduce like more difficult enemies where you have to be more strategic about it.
Yeah.
But it's like certain kinds of enemies in certain situations, so I get that. I'm actually a big fan of the combat in this game because I love the hidden skills, but I totally get that.
Yeah, maybe it's still early on, but that to me, I think there are we'll definitely talk about cool encounters and stuff, but this is more of an overall game thing, less dungeon thing. But I do start to feel like, you know, especially when we replay a lot of these games, I just run by a lot of them because I'm like, you're useless.
It's a little early for the main enemies to start feeling underpowered, you know?
Yeah. Like they don't need to be like difficult. Obviously, it's dungeon too, but but you know, maybe I feel like the sniping part is kind of what they add to this. So, I'm not gonna say too much more about like goodies and stuff, but this dungeon has an area that stands out. There's that funny little area where you need the item from the next dungeon to reach it.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I'm pretty sure it's just rupees that are up there. You need the claw shots to get up there. And I think they just give you rupees.
It could even be like a stamp or something in the HD version.
It might be.
I don't remember. I don't know.
It's silly.
Either way, not worth it.
I like that sort of thing normally if it's like if
it's very valuable.
That Skulltula in the Deku Tree is a great example where it's
that's much better.
It's totally annoying that it's there if you're trying to get them all, but it's like it's worth it, and you have to remember that, and you want to go back to it, and it's like, oh, I got something sort of useful, you know, or like cool collectible. But all right, let's talk about the boss. Did I say this with the last one? Okay, I didn't mention the Twilight Parasite Diababa. This one's the Twilight Igniter Virus.
Iris.
Yes, who's aka Darbus, the Goron patriarch. Has been corrupted by the Fused Shadow. Cool visual. This giant flame engulfed monster. And
it's very Balrog-esque.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like too, like I mean that persists throughout the whole game, but yeah, like I feel like Lord of the Rings is definitely a big influence on.
I mean, this game came out in what, 2006, so it's like off the heels of that, like
absolutely. Big time. You know, this fight, it's kind of neat. I like that it makes use of the bow and the boots. You know, you have to like shoot the crystal on his head. He rages around, and you grab the chains, and while you're wearing the boots and pull him back. I feel like that's been a cool through line throughout the dungeon that started with the sumo wrestling with the mayor, which is like, you know, these boots, like going toe to toe with the Gorons
that help you trump the Gorons.
Yeah, I think that's neat. So
that is cool.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Darbus Virus here?
I remember like going into this fight when I most recently replayed this dungeon. I remember thinking like Virus is easy. I feel like that's a complaint I've heard, is that he's like visually cool but it's too easy. And I had way more trouble with him than I ever have. And it's not so much like I don't think he's ever really gonna kill you, but it's like you do have to time it in a certain way, because like he still moves around and stuff when you're trying to like grab the chains that are hanging off of his feet. And what I really love that adds to the fight, that just makes it feel like you're fighting a real big monster, is that like you have to shoot him in the face. And if you're doing that when you're in first person and he's charging straight at you, that's scary. Because it's like you gotta hit him in time before he gets over to you, but you're looking straight at him.
I agree. I think
very, thematically very cool, very fun, not too difficult, but creative use of multiple items. It's always cool when you have to use multiple items in a boss fight.
Yeah, I think it's that can kind of apply to a lot of the bosses where it's like there's some that I would say are worse. But a lot of them have that Wind Waker thing where it's like we said, like they're not crazy hard or anything, but they're fun to do and they're exciting. Yeah. So yeah, you know, get the second piece of the Fuse Shadow, get rid of the curse. We're good. Let's rank it. Let's rank the dungeon.
Do it.
So this one for me was definitely below Forest Temple. Like I could see the seams a little bit more of like like progressing through the dungeon. You do loop around and like some areas recontextualize, but it feels a little bit more on rails with some exciting moments. Yeah. And so I went much lower. I don't know if I would say it was like super low. So I have Forest Temple at 23. I ranked this one at, I believe, 39. Yeah, 39, above Fortress of Winds. This is more in the realm of what I think of as like, it's got like a cool kind of vibe and story, but it's the dungeons above it that, you know, while they might be lacking some X, Y, and Z factor, they're a little bit more engaging to play through. So this is it's like maybe a gatekeeper for that tier below Forest Temple of like good dungeons, but not like my great dungeons.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty solid. It's actually in the mix of where I have a lot of like the good intro dungeons, and I typically, there has been like a sophomore slump that a lot of dungeons
that happens sometimes.
But it's not as big of a dip as like I think when I think about it compared to like Fire Temple, it's obviously cribbing a lot from, which is down at 52. I feel like this does a better job with the vibe aspect, and that's like a straightforward dungeon. And then I think of sophomore slump dungeons like Dodongo's Cavern, I have down at 64 right now. So this might seem like a harsh ranking to some, but I think it's pretty good. What do you think?
Well, let's hop over to mine, because I think we must have like a slightly different philosophy on the sophomore slump dungeons, because like for me it totally depends on the intro dungeon, and it depends like how the second dungeon changes, because I totally agree with you that like I think the weakest part of this dungeon is the navigation. And it's mostly linear. There's nothing wrong with having a linear dungeon, but I feel like there's a way or a couple ways to do it really effectively, and this doesn't necessarily, it could have, but this doesn't necessarily hit those marks. And I feel we're gonna see later, for me personally, we're gonna see that later in this game, where there are other dungeons that do linear progression much better. And this does that thing that Twilight Princess loves to do, where it's like you go up this way and then it loops you and brings you back here, and then it loops you and brings you back here, and then you go finish it.
Yep.
And the main detractor for this dungeon is for me, it's the placement of the Goron Elders like in your path, because if the whole point is to get the 3 key shards to unlock the boss door, right? They should be like out of the way. You should have to find your way to them, and instead you just follow the path, and they're literally just on the path already.
Yes.
You don't have to go out of your way to reach them. And I feel like that aspect of this dungeon is what makes it really strong. To get more into the positive aspect of it, is like more so than Forest Temple. For me, this feels like a very lived-in, actual part of the world of Twilight Princess, because it's like active mines where like the Gorons operated them, and you have the whole through line with the Gorons, and it's the Goron Patriarch, and they're all in there protecting this situation. And the elders, you find them all in like little shrines that are just little safe havens within the dungeon, which it's like that's really cool because if this in times past wasn't some sort of like hostile environment, it makes sense that they would all have their own little locations where they stay and hang out. And I think that, and the other main thing that really bumped this dungeon up for me was, I think room to room, the stuff you're doing is a lot more engaging than the stuff you're doing in Forest Temple. And I don't think Forest Temple's bad. I just think the puzzles are more fun, and that's especially because of like the movement with those iron boots and like walking on the walls and hanging upside down from the walls. And once you get the bow, a lot of the puzzles are like you have to shoot the little drawstrings holding the bridge up, or you have to shoot this switch that's across the room. And there's a lot of like timing puzzles, and room to room I think it's very fun. So basically I think I put it above Forest Temple because that element of it bumped it up enough for me. But I don't think I didn't go much higher. I only put it 2 spots above. I put it at 30. And I feel like that's also kind of appropriate for my ranking because it's like an early dungeon. It's still around, like Dragon Roost Cavern, Cave of Flames are a few spots below, and then Fire Temple is a few spots above. So it's like I'm considering it based on some early dungeons and also other like fire-themed dungeons. We clearly have a very different opinion of Fire Temple because I have it a lot higher than you. But like I feel like this is not too different from something like Dragon Roost Cavern. And I think that is another one where it's like you're not doing that's an intro dungeon. So it's a different set of criteria, I think. But in that one, you're not doing anything. There's no crazy navigation, but you're doing cool, fun things each step of the way. So, I only put it just a little bit above Forest Temple.
I will also. You made me think. Great point on the Goron placement. That is definitely a thing that kind of gets me about it. I would say I think those parts where you're walking on like the ceiling are like arduous and kind of slow to me. So.
We're gonna get to there's an infamous dungeon in this game where I feel certain things you're doing are very arduous. At least on this playthrough for me, it wasn't that bad for me because it felt very on theme with the dungeon. And maybe the next time I play it, I'll feel differently. But I found myself having fun, especially like you have to do a little bit of waiting, but there's like that one room where there's a long platform that every few seconds it flips upside down and then it rotates and flips upside down. So it's like you have to switch back and forth between like, oh, I got to get to a safe magnetic spot and then magnet so I don't get flipped off. And like, I don't know. I enjoy the movement. It definitely takes a little while. So I totally get that.
You've got me thinking about, I kind of regret one of my later dungeon rankings, thinking about it now compared to this one. You've kind of you've pre-talked me up on it, and you're gonna hate my ranking of it. So but we'll save that for later.